Hello and welcome to the Fly Kingfisher Winning Post with me, Mandira Lalwani. The Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million Day is a day synonymous with fashion, glamour, with top-class racing. It's also an extremely important race for the career of a racehorse, for several horses that have won this race have gone on to grab Indian classics.
The winner of the Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million has always been a top performer in his career post this victory. Some have even gone on to win classics and Group 1 races. Versaki, for instance, won the Pune Derby, and Bourbon King won the Indian 2000 Guineas as well as the prestigious Summer Bangalore Derby. Whether or not the winner raised his standards, the race itself was the cream of talent from across the country vying to make their mark. After all, only one out of a crop of 1,000-odd foals of the year gets the title of the leading juvenile of the country. That is the significance of the Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million, the only Group 1 race for juveniles. 2012 was no different. The Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million panned out to be a thoroughly enjoyable day out at the races. The colourful cosmopolitan crowd was vocal and vibrant, and the general atmosphere was one of fun. The crowds were pouring in from all sides, and swanky luxury cars streamlined at the gates to drop off the elite of society. The ubiquitous red and white colours of the Poonawalla group were splashed all over the Mahalakshmi racecourse, adding even more colour to the vast green expanse of the RWITC. The race card of the day promised ample excitement, and standing testimony to that was the buzz and anticipation that was palpable at the members' enclosure. There were 10 races to look forward to, and naturally the jewel of the crown was the Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million, a race that wore an open look as it boasted a strong field of 15 runners, most of which were previous winners.
Before we go any further, let's have a quick look at the 15 contenders for the Poonawalla Breeders Multi-Million for 2012. Well, that was an impressive lineup of 15 contenders. We'll examine each of them in detail in just a little bit. But for now, let's focus on the Serum Institute of India Trophy, which is a Class 2 contest run over 5 furlongs.
The racing warmed up with the Serum Institute of India Trophy, a Class 2 handicap over a scurry. Martinek from champion trainer Pacey Shroff's yard was installed as the top fancy. Rayanullah Khan's Saints and Sinners too was in contention, as were Greatness and Dervis Hill. The rest were offered at asking odds. Saints and Sinners was coming into this race after a longish gap. He was withdrawn on compassionate grounds after accepting to start during the Derby weekend, and had last run nearly 140 races ago. However, that run saw him stubbornly resist the top-class sprinter Neffen, and Saints and Sinners had finished a half-length second. The only concern for him was the 62 kilos that he was carrying and the long gap between the races. Otherwise, he looked to be on a good wicket in this set. Dervis Hill had been consistent and had notched up 4 good victories on the occasions that he wore his racing gear this season. He had seen and done well in better company, and the 5-furlong sprint was his ideal trip. At odds of 8 to 1, he was tempting as a value for money proposition. Martinek had figured on the judges' frame on both her starts this season, and most thought she was now ready to come into her own. She was well placed in the scales and was coming from the top stable. Everything seemed set for her to start on her winning ways. She looked alert and fit in the paddock to further boost this feeling. Greatness had been running forward races and had a victory to show this season as well. At the bottom of the scales, with a hard-run third in her last outing, she encouraged her backers to root for her. There was little doubt of her fitness, but she was up against a better set of horses this time around. The horses left the paddock with Martinek, Saints and Sinners and Greatness garnering most of the trade in the betting ring.
They are off and racing for the Serum Institute of India Trophy to a lovely even start by all the 8 runners. And as they settle down to race, Saints and Sinners quickly in front from National Glory coming over on the outside. Very close behind them is Greatest. Martinique sitting on the rails, a length and a quarter further back there's Dervis Hill, then comes Schnell. A length and a half further back there's Daffodil, second last of all is Check Her Out. And as they begin to wheel round the corner and straighten up for home, it's Saints and Sinners about a length in front of National Glory in second position. Greatness is making headway on the outside. Martinique in the middle, Daffodils moving up on the inside race. Then comes Dover's Hill with about 350 meters more to run. Saints and Sinners still travelling well, is about a length and a half in front of National Glory. Then comes Greatness with a good run on the outside. Daffodils towards the inside race and Martinique between them. 200 to go. Saints and Sinners is still about a length and a quarter in front of Greatness, coming up fast on the outside. Daffodils also making headway. Martinique between them. It's Saints and Sinners from Greatness and Daffodils. Saints and Sinners from Greatness and Daffodils. Saints and Sinners holds on to win the Serum Institute of India trophy in a narrow finish from Greatness. Then comes Daffodils as the race past the finish.
Saints and Sinners came into the straight with a handy lead. Jockey Sandesh relied only on his hands and heels until the final 300 meters as Saints and Sinners galloped on relentlessly. Sandesh played his part in the saddle to perfection, ensuring that Saints and Sinners never let his grip off to boot home the early advantage. His use of the whip too was astute and timely. Greatness finished on bravely, as did Daffodils. Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla, along with his son Adar, did the presentation honours, handing the attractive trophy for the Serum Institute of India to jubilant donors Feroz Kambata, Anita Kalaktina and Vikram Kapadia. Trainer Rehanullah Khan and jockey Sandesh also received accolades for their respective contributions for churning out a successful mission. The main race was drawing closer and Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla, flanked by his security guards, was upbeat about the Poonawalla Breeders' multi-million.
Well, as you know, the race was formed nearly 2 decades ago with a modest $1 million, and now it's gone to something like 14-15 million. The next year we're doubling our sponsorship, so we'll take it to a new dimension, and we'll have a grand celebration by calling a few thousand people for tea as we used to do before, and take it up from there. It will be much more. We'll try and get some real big celebrity to add color to the function. And you see, one thing I must emphasize, that because of the concept of sponsorship, corporate sponsorship, started 20 years ago with the sight and vision to enhance the total corporate involvement into racing, has paid off rich dividends to RWITC. And today we have at least 30 sponsors which weren't there earlier, and this is growing, and this is very good for the sport, it's good for the public, and it's also good for the government to know that this is not a gambling den, this is a sporting place.
Time now for a quick break on the Fly Kingfisher winning post, but stay with us. We'll be back with the main race, the Poonawalla Breeders' Multi-Million. Welcome back to the Fly Kingfisher winning post. Now, the Poonawalla Breeders' Multi-Million Day saw the who's who of the Indian horse racing circuit. But what added even more substance and more sparkle to this day was the presence of top racing authorities from England and Australia.
The Melbourne Cup is hardly alien to any racing aficionado, but what many may not know is that the trophy of this hugely popular and illustrious race is taken from city to city across various countries each year in a bid to further popularize the day that in Australia has come to be a carnival and a national holiday. This 18-carat gold trophy is valued at approximately 9 million and would most certainly hold the place of pride for any owner lucky enough to win it. This was the first time ever that the RWITC got a chance to participate in this glorious tradition, and in doing so placed host to the powers that be at the Victoria Racing Club in Australia.
Taking the Emirates Melbourne Cup trophy around the world, we have done this for a number of years, and certainly in Australia, towns and centres have to tender to have the cup to come to their town, and we love people to get up close and see one of the most sought after sporting trophies in the world. And it's been our pleasure to add Mumbai to that list of international destinations.
The Vice Chairman of the Victoria Racing Club added to what her colleague had said, emphasizing the significance of the Melbourne Cup and their keen desire that the Indian racing fraternity be an integral part of their racing carnival.
This is the 152nd running of the Melbourne Cup, and it's taken a long time for it to get to this level. It is now, as you know, a global race. Last year, the first 7 places of the race were filled by international horses. We've increased the prize money. It's now 6.2 million Australian dollars, which I believe is about 330 million rupees. So it's quite an attractive race for people to come such a long way to try and win. The Victoria Racing Club is the premier race club in Australia, and I've been speaking to your chairman here and the Poonawallas, and I think we should develop a formal alliance between our two clubs.
Meanwhile, Harry Herbert, chairman of the British Bloodstock Marketing, a guest of the Poonawallas, made no bones about the fact that he thought that the McDowell Signature Premier Indian Derby winner in the spotlight was good enough to race overseas.
Your champion filly, who's winning everything at the moment, Captain Apu's filly. I mean, she looks well up to proper group class in Europe, and it would be fantastic to see her come over to England and compete against the very best, and hopefully we'll see that.
And finally, now time for the big race, the Poonawalla Breeders' Multi-Million, where not just the connections, but everybody at the race course had a chance to return home a winner. The lucky racegoer who guessed in the correct order the winning 4 horses in the Poonawalla Breeders' Multi-Million would go home with this car. So without further ado, let's have a look at how this one panned out.
The patrons and first-timers alike thronged the paddock just as the 15 contenders started to enter the parade ring. Most wanted to judge for themselves the paddock looks for each of the horses before making their choice of the first 4 to take a crack at winning the attractive Volkswagen Polo car. The horses didn't disappoint and they played to the galleries. The pick of the lot was the Malaysian Eredu Charge Chevalier Hero. He had registered 2 victories so far, one of which was the Forbes India Million. Borak looked strong and powerful. Although his debut victory was suggestive and aggressive, his subsequent outing lacked conviction. Possibly he needed to sit further up on the pace, and he did look in fine fettle and ready to do battle. Borsalino was another one who looked good and seemed to have taken the journey from Bangalore well. The son of Choisir out of Running Flame looked alert and ready. Day's Best was a fashionable winner and had beaten 2 of his current rivals in their last encounter. He had emerged from the tail end of the field and had won well. So, with the right credentials and looks to match, he was another who was going to make the finish interesting. Hachiko from MK Jadhav's yard was also looking very well. He was unbeaten in 2 starts and both his victories were convincing. He had a lovely coat, looking confident, and many backed him just on the way he looked in the paddock. Machiavellianism had run a forward race in Mumbai and was at the helm for a while before going down to Day's Best. He had travelled from Hyderabad and now, with a run on this track, seemed well acclimatized. Southern Opinion from Dr. Ramaswamy's yard had his fair share of followers as he had won in Bangalore, and despite giving way to Day's Best, had covered ground considerably to run a good second, narrowing the margin of victory with every stride. At level weights, he had to be considered a live threat. Turf Lightning was only 1 run old, but that was a winning effort. Turf Lightning had won on a tight rein over a scurry and was still to be pressed. Perhaps Turf Lightning could well churn out a winning effort. The race therefore wore an open look, compelling the bookmakers to offer generous odds. Hachiko and Chevalier Hero garnered a lot of support between them. Day's Best and Southern Opinion had their share of supporters as well.
Just about ready to go. Stand by here. Gates open, racing, jumping a little sideways, Chevalier Hero, but he's gathering speed and he's being pushed fairly hard to try and get up close to the speed. Borak, Phoenix Force try to push across and get a prominent position, and Adalrak from the inside has begun quite quickly and he's up charging towards the leaders, but Sekander's the one who's going to roll over to the front end and he'll go to the front. Borsalino lands nice and close in 2nd and 3rd behind them, and Adalrak nicely behind those. On the outside also getting close is Phoenix Force now, after jumping quite nicely. Behind those, Shah Rat in 4th or 5th. On the outside, try to push a little bit closer. Chevalier Hero is trapped a bit deeper on the corner as they swing the bend. In the Poonawalla Breeders, multi-millions, and around the corner, it's out in front, going quite nicely. Sikander leads by about 3/4 to Borsalino up in 2nd. Now 3rd behind the leaders, Chevalier Hero, and right there is Turf Lightning travelling okay. Next then came Shah-Rat, trying to get into a spot halfway down the running though, and it's still out in front here. Trying hard, Sikander, he's off the bridle though very quickly. Trying hard, Hachiko, who's been outside the leader and chasing hard. It's still in front here, doing his best in front at the moment is Sikander. He's finding more. Hachiko on the outside, and now Machiavellianism is coming with a big run. He's starting to sweep down the outside, and also coming very quickly on the outside is Day's Best, but going to the front Hachiko, and Hachiko beats Day's Best. Good finish, Hachiko from Day's Best, and third Sikander after doing the speed early. From Machiavellianism, Suwamoto fairly.
A splendid performance by Hachiko and his jockey B. Prakash. Both did everything right. Sikander proved to be a tough nut to crack as he kicked on for much longer than one would have expected. However, once Hachiko appeared on the scene and began to stretch, Sikander reluctantly bowed out. Day's Best came with a late electrifying run and nearly had the battle won. Had Hachiko not streaked ahead the way he did while building a cushion, Day's Best may just have got him. Hachiko, however, had everything covered and held on to win.
Congratulations, Prakash. We are meeting here pretty often nowadays. What was the race like?
Well, I planned my race to sit well up and ride him from there. And he galloped really well from there.
Well, his timing for the first two races that he won was not exactly impressive over 1200 meters. He was 112 plus. And what did you think at that time, and what was the special strategy you had for this one?
Well, this race was a bit fast for him. And he galloped really well afterwards. He took that fast pace and he stayed them well.
What do you think is best optimum distances?
Well, he's just maturing now. Definitely he'll go a little more longer than this.
Okay, Mr. Shirke, this was one trophy that was not on your mantle. And now how do you feel getting this one?
Absolutely fabulous.
You've been having a very good streak for the last couple of years. Jacqueline's come and changed things for you. And now again, Hachiko has never been beaten so far. So what is it that's making your luck tick?
I don't do anything. I pay the bills.
That's good enough. And tell me your feelings in the race. The position was not exactly appropriate for Hachiko while taking the turn. And once he went to the front, then what was your feeling?
Well, at the 200, I thought he had lost it. But suddenly he picked up. Even Prakash said the same thing. He just picked up and went away.
Okay, there must have been some telepathic message sent by you.
I don't know. But I'm very glad for Man Singh that he has won this big race after a long, long time. Man Singh said you keep in the front, push him for the first 100 meters, get a good position. And I mean, in the last 400 meters, just put him, that's all.
What was the feeling in the camp? Will he win as he did, or you thought it would be a close one?
Yeah, it was always a difficult race. And there were 4 or 5 horses in this. But we had a good draw, so that was lucky.
A big win like this always matters to a small stable like me. We were in a situation of a catch-22 sort of a situation where if we sit in front, he gets to see daylight too early, and if you sit at the back, he might get blocked. So the better option was to sit right in front, and that's why he took a little time to overtake those front horses. He's a lazy little chap. He'll do it just enough. If they would have gone on for another furlong, he would have still kicked on. He wouldn't have let any other horse pass him. He's got that much guts and spirit in him. He doesn't like anyone passing him.
Time now for a quick break here on the Fly Kingfisher winning post. But stay with us, because when we return, we'll catch up with the winner of this car. Welcome back to the Fly Kingfisher winning post. Now this is the podium where the connections of all the winning horses from all the races are felicitated. Let's go across to the presentation ceremony for the Poonawalla Breeders Multimillion.
The attractive silver trophy, highly valued, was flanked by the Poonawalla family that turned up in full force in support of the day that is so close to their hearts. Dr. Cyrus Poonawalla awarded it to Vijay Shirke, the owner of Hachiko. This win also notched up more successes for Sultan Singh of the Sona Stud, who collected the breeder's salver from the Honourable Harry Herbert of British Bloodstock Marketing. For some of the others, there was consolation. Although the fancied chivalric hero travelled wide and finished in the ruck, there was a consolation prize for him. He won the award for the best turned out horse.
Okay, get ready to celebrate.
And that wasn't all. The Poonawalla day became a dream come true for this man. Anil Sanghvi had cracked the car code and in doing so become the only one at the racecourse to correctly nominate the top 4 placings.
एकदम खुश हो गया मैं बिलीव ही नहीं किया था कि मेरे को ऐसा गाड़ी लगने वाला है मेरा नसीब अच्छा है कि लग गया गाड़ी पहली गाड़ी है मेरे पास अभी मेरा बेटा तो इतना खुश होएगा ना अभी उनको मालूम पड़ेगा जाके बोलेगा और ये पूनावाला को मैं थैंक यू और बहुत बेस्ट कॉम्प्लीमेंट देता हूँ कि मेरे को गाड़ी दिया पूनावाला साहब थैंक यू बोलता हूँ.
Well, the next highlight on the Indian racing calendar is the invitation weekend, where the top horses from all over the country will make their way to Bangalore.
The invitation weekend is a championship weekend in Indian horse racing, and that is because the top horses from all over the country are invited to run in either of the 4 races that make up this racing extravaganza. The 4 races are distinguished by the distance and terms. The Sprinters Cup is over 6 furlongs, the Stayers Cup over 3,000 meters, the Super Mile naturally over a mile, and the Invitation Cup, which is over a mile and a half, is a revival of the Indian Derby. What makes the 2012 revival even more special is that this is the 50th year or Golden Jubilee of the tradition. Here's what we think you should have your money on. In the Invitation, in the Spotlight will take a lot of beating. In the Super Mile, Aristos may just be the horse in form here. In the Stayers Cup, Arabian Prince is the horse to follow, and if Native Knight has travelled well, he just might prove to be the surprise package. And finally, in the Sprinters, the horse in form looks to be Forest Flare, though this wears an open look, with horses like Ancient Wonder, Attila, Bespoke and Dandified coming in with a chance as well. But the presence of Giant Dandified in this field will certainly make this an interesting contest.
That's all we have time for on this episode of the Fly Kingfisher Winning Post, but I am going to leave you with some special moments from the day. Until next week, may the horse be with you.
Fly Kingfisher Winning Post is powered by the Serum Institute of India and Hirco Industries.